I, 28 male, am currently sitting in my car outside a courthouse with a finalized annulment and a settlement check that feels like a heavy weight has finally been lifted off my chest. I'm an architect by trade, so I'm literally trained to spot structural weaknesses, but I somehow managed to miss the massive cracks in my own relationship until the entire building was about to collapse on 200 people. 2 months ago, I was standing in the groom's suite at a high-end vineyard, checking my watch. It was 2 p.m. The ceremony was set for 4 p.m. Everything was perfect. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from my fiancée, 27 female. It read, "I can't go through with this. I'm sorry. I'm at a hotel. Don't come looking for me. I just need to be honest with myself. You deserve someone who is 100% there." Now, she expected me to fall apart. She expected a frantic call, begging her to come back. But what she didn't know was that a week prior, she'd left her laptop logged into her messages. A notification popped up from a contact saved as work logistics. It was a guy she'd dated in college. The message said, "I can still feel you on my skin. One more time before you're officially off the market." I hadn't confronted her then. I had spent that entire week systematically taking screenshots of every single message. I had logs of their late-night meetups when she said she was at dress fittings. I had photos they'd exchanged while I was literally sitting at the table paying the deposit for our honeymoon in Greece. Her plan, as she told him in one text, was to keep him as her spark, while I provided the stability. So, when her "I can't do this" text arrived, I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I just felt this weird, cold clarity. I typed back 4 words. "Thank you for your honesty." Then I went to work. I called my best man and told him to get the guys to the chapel. I called the venue coordinator and told her the schedule was changing but to make sure every single guest was seated by 4 p.m. No exceptions. My fiancé's parents are old money types. Her father is a high-profile personal injury lawyer who thinks he owns the city, and her mother is a socialite who cares more about the optics of a wedding than the people involved. They had paid for a huge chunk of this just so they could invite their business partners and local politicians to show off. At 3:30 p.m., the mother of the bride barged into my room. She was frantic. She said her daughter wasn't answering her phone, and her room was empty. I told her, "She's just having a moment. I'll handle it. Just go sit down. You really want to be in the front row for this." She actually smiled at me, thinking I was being brave, and walked out. At 4 p.m. sharp, the music started. The doors opened. I walked down that aisle alone. You could hear the murmuring start immediately. People were looking around for the bridesmaids, for the bride, for anyone else. I walked right up to the altar, took the mic from the priest, and looked directly at her father. I thanked everyone for coming. I told them that, unfortunately, the bride wouldn't be joining us because she was currently at a hotel with her ex-boyfriend. The silence in that room was so loud it felt like it was ringing. But I wasn't done. I told them that since people had traveled so far and so much money had been spent, I didn't want anyone to leave without understanding the situation. I nodded to my best man. He was in the AV booth. He hit play on the slideshow that was supposed to be our journey as a couple. Instead, a 15-foot screen lit up with a screenshot of a text she sent 3 nights prior. "He's sleeping in the other room. I wish I was in your bed instead. Saturday is just a formality, baby." The room exploded. Her father stood up, his face turning a shade of purple I didn't know was humanly possible. He started screaming at me to turn it off, calling it a private matter. I told him through the mic that since he was so worried about his investment, he should see exactly what he was paying for. I had the AV tech lock the booth door. We cycled through 10 more slides, hotel receipts she'd charged to our joint wedding emergency account, and photos she'd sent this guy of her in the $8,000 wedding dress her parents bought. Her father charged the altar, shouting that he'd sue me for defamation and make sure I never worked again. I just looked at him and said, "Truth is a total defense to defamation, and I've got the receipts. If you want to sue someone, sue your daughter for fraud." I walked out. My groomsmen followed me. We went straight to a dive bar, but the drama was just getting started. 2 days later, the father called me. He wasn't screaming anymore, he was cold. He told me he'd have me blackballed from every architecture firm in the state. He told me I was a small fish in a big pond, and that if I didn't sign an NDA and issue a public statement saying the slideshow was a mental breakdown fabrication, he'd destroy my career. I recorded that call. My state has one-party consent, and I knew a guy like him wouldn't be able to help himself. Then came the legal dirty tricks. They served me with a temporary restraining order, TRO, claiming I had hacked her accounts and that she was in fear for her life. It was a move to get the court to seize my phone and laptop so they could accidentally wipe the evidence during discovery. I didn't blink. I hired a heavy-hitter litigation firm. I showed them that her account was still logged into our shared home computer, meaning no hacking occurred. Then the hammer dropped at my job. My boss called me in and said a major developer, a friend of the father, had threatened to pull a multi-million-dollar contract if I remained the lead architect. I was taken off the project. That was the father's biggest mistake. He thought he was starving me out, but he was actually just handing me the evidence for a massive professional interference and intentional infliction of emotional distress lawsuit. I found out where the ex-fiancée was staying because she was still using our shared Uber account. Seriously, the entitlement is real. I called her and told her that her father was about to get disbarred because I had him on tape threatening my career. I also mentioned that I'd seen her text to her lover where she talked about her father's under-the-table business deals and creative tax accounting. I told her, "Tell your father to drop the TRO and the professional interference, or I'm sending the full unedited transcripts to the State Bar and the IRS. I have nothing left to lose. You already took the wedding and my job. I'm just a guy with a hard drive and a lot of free time now." She folded like a lawn chair. She was terrified of her father, but she was more terrified of being the reason his empire crumbled. The fallout was a total demolition. She admitted to the court that she'd given me her passwords months ago, which killed the TRO and their hacking claim. We then sued for breach of fiduciary duty because she used $30,000 of my personal savings from our joint wedding account to fund her affair. The judge was disgusted. Because the work logistics evidence was now part of a public court record, everyone in her father's circle saw it. His reputation didn't just take a hit, it evaporated. I won the lawsuit for the wedding costs and a massive settlement for the lost career earnings due to his interference. It was enough to move away and start my own firm. The last time I saw them was at the courthouse for the final signatures. My ex-fiancée looked miserable. The spark with her ex had fizzled out the second the money stopped flowing. Her father wouldn't even look at me. He's currently under investigation by the Bar Association. She tried to tell me I destroyed her family. I told her I just stopped holding up the walls she was busy kicking down. I'm in a new city now. I've got a clean slate and a much better eye for foundations. It turns out losing a wedding is a small price to pay for finding out what you're actually worth. Since I'm so good at internal audits, maybe you should subscribe before I decide to check your partner's work logistics folder too. Would you like me to help you design a blueprint for your own grand exit?